Bienvenue sur ma chaîne. Développement personnel par la parole de Dieu. Que sa lumière vous accompagne. Soyez bénis où que vous soyez. Likez, partagez, restez connectés. Ici on grandit, on s'élève, on est transformé.
There is a pervasive illusion harbored by many, particularly within spiritual circles. The notion that because someone shares your faith, your congregation, or your values, they are inherently good for you. It is as though spiritual proximity were a cast-iron guarantee of emotional safety. As if merely uttering the name of God were sufficient proof of a sincere heart. But the reality is far more complex, and sometimes deeply unsettling. For the truth is, faith does not eradicate human nature. It erases neither our wounds nor our insecurities, nor our hidden agendas. Someone may pray alongside you, yet remain entirely incapable of respecting you. Someone can quote scripture chapter and verse, yet lack the emotional maturity to handle your heart with care. And herein lies the fatal flaw for so many. We mistake spiritual connection for relational security. We confuse religious affiliation with depth of character. We conflate Christian love with granting unrestricted access to our lives. But to love everyone does not mean leaving yourself vulnerable to everyone. And this is a crucial distinction that many overlook. Until the day they are broken. Scripture reminds us of this with profound precision in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 23. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. This verse is not a mere suggestion. It is a solemn warning. It does not simply command us to love. It commands us to guard. This implies vigilance, accountability, an acute awareness that your heart is a wellspring. And every wellspring must be fiercely protected. Your heart is not a public thoroughfare. It is not an open-door policy for all and sundry. It is a sanctuary, and that which is sacred must be guarded at the gates. From a psychological standpoint, this reality is now widely acknowledged. Researchers speak of emotional boundaries, those invisible yet indispensable frontiers that dictate what you will accept, what you will refuse, and how far others may step into your inner world. These boundaries are not walls of rejection. They are structures of protection. They serve to preserve your identity, your emotional equilibrium, and your inner stability. Without these boundaries, a person gradually becomes porous to everything, to the opinions of others, to their emotions, to their behaviors. They adapt, they absorb, they tolerate, until they entirely lose sight of themselves. And the consequences are profound. Emotional burnout, anxiety, a loss of direction, and codependency. In other words, when you fail to protect your heart, you ultimately lose yourself. And yet, despite all of this, so many continue to surrender their hearts far too readily. Out of naivety, out of a desperate yearning for love, out of the fear of being alone, out of the dread of rejection, or even through a kind of spiritual overcompensation, believing that to deny someone access would be a failure of love, or worse, a failure of faith. But the truth is stark. And it is a difficult pill to swallow. Not everyone is worthy of your heart. Because surrendering your heart is no trivial matter. It is a profound act. It is an act of deep commitment. It is an act that leaves you utterly vulnerable. And should you give it away without discernment, you are not demonstrating love. You are taking a reckless gamble. Even within the church. The weight of surrendering your heart. Surrendering your heart is not merely about loving someone. It is not just about feeling affection, attachment, or closeness. Giving your heart away is a far more profound act. It is unlocking an inner door. It is granting someone access to your emotional core, to your private thoughts, your scars, your fears, and your dreams. It is offering a space where you are utterly authentic, vulnerable, and entirely unguarded. And not everyone knows how to honor that access. Not everyone possesses the respect, maturity, and responsibility to handle it. Scripture is remarkably clear on this in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 6. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet. This verse is frequently misunderstood. People often read it as a harsh judgment, when in truth it is a lesson in discernment. It speaks to the ability to recognize the immense value of what you carry within you. and understanding that not everyone is capable of appreciating it, let alone respecting it. Your emotions, your trust, your heart. These are your pearls. And not every pair of hands is worthy of holding them. From a psychological perspective, this reality is well documented. Toxic relationships are not merely unpleasant. They are deeply destructive. They shatter self-esteem, breed deep-seated insecurity, and forge patterns of emotional codependency. They can spiral into anxiety, profound confusion, and in some cases, depression. When you entrust your heart to someone who does not know how to nurture it, you do not just lose a relationship. You lose a piece of yourself. The burden of immaturity, another vital point, one that is so often overlooked, is that not everyone has the emotional bandwidth to receive your heart. Some people are not malicious. They are simply immature. Others are volatile. Still others are grappling with their own unhealed wounds, their own insecurities, and their own private battles. And when you hand your heart to someone who is still a work in progress, you burden them with a weight they are ill-equipped to carry. And whatever they cannot carry, they inevitably break. The Bible illustrates this powerfully in the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. This means that relationships are never neutral. They leave a mark. They shape you. They dictate how you think, how you feel, and how you act. Every relationship in your life is either a stepping stone or a stumbling block. It either lifts you up or drags you down. Modern psychology bears this out. Individuals who thrive in healthy relational environments, supported by firm boundaries, develop greater emotional resilience, stronger self-confidence, and a keener ability to make choices that align with their true identity. Conversely, a lack of boundaries paves the way for chronic people-pleasing. You begin to lose sight of yourself, to conform, to tolerate the intolerable, to put everyone else first, until you no longer recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. The illusion of the heart, and more often than not, this lack of discernment does not stem from a lack of intelligence. It stems from a lack of healing. Giving your heart away too freely can be a symptom of a deep, unmet inner need. The need to be loved, the craving for validation, the desperate desire to feel seen and valued in someone else's eyes. And when that need takes the wheel, it leaves you defenseless. It drives you to settle for lopsided relationships. You give too much. You invest too heavily. You make too many excuses. You stay exactly where you ought to leave. And ultimately, you lose your way. Scripture sheds light on this internal struggle in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? This signifies that your very own heart can betray you, can pull you towards attachments that are detrimental to your well-being. It can trick you into mistaking emotional intensity for genuine connection. It can convince you that simply because you feel something deeply, it must be right. But not everything you feel is aligned with your destiny, and we must have the courage to say it out loud. Even within the four walls of the church, not everyone is aligned with God's plan for your life. Some are still very much under construction. Others are tangled up in comparison, in jealousy, in toxic undercurrents that are invisible yet undeniably real. And the Bible issues a stark warning in the first epistle to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 33. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. This verse makes no exemptions for spiritual environments. A toxic influence remains a toxic influence regardless of the setting. The ultimate blueprint, loving everyone, does not equate to trusting everyone. Being a Christian does not mean being naive. Jesus himself provides the ultimate blueprint. He loved profoundly. But he exercised immense discernment. He gave of himself. But he maintained strict boundaries. In the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verse 24, it is written, "But Jesus would not entrust himself to them, for he knew all people." He did not cast people aside. But neither did he confide in everyone. And herein lies the key. You can love without leaving yourself exposed. You can be kind without making yourself vulnerable to everyone. You can be open-hearted, whilst keeping your guard up, because your heart is precious. And everything that is precious demands discernment. The shift from naivete to wisdom. Understanding that not everyone is worthy of your heart does not mean becoming cold, callous, or distant. It is not about shutting yourself off from the world, nor is it about giving up on love. On the contrary, it is about evolution. It is about graduating from a naive love to a conscious one. It is learning to love with discernment, to give with maturity, and above all, to fiercely protect what God has placed within you. Because your heart is not something trivial. Your heart is the very epicenter of your inner life. It is the crucible where your emotions, your decisions, your attachments, and your perception of yourself and others are forged. It is the wellspring from which everything flows. And when this core is disrupted, wounded, or surrounded by the wrong company, your entire life bears the brunt. This is precisely why you must learn to recognize its worth. Your heart is precious. Your energy is precious. Your peace is precious. Your destiny is precious. And anything of such immense value must be guarded with unwavering intention. Scripture offers us a profoundly powerful key to discernment in the book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 6. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. This signifies that not all relationships are what they appear to be. Some may shower you with flattery, yet lack an ounce of sincerity. Others may challenge you, yet remain fiercely authentic. True discernment is learning to peer beneath the surface, to look past fleeting emotions, and to recognize the true posture of a person's heart. The power of boundaries from a psychological standpoint. Establishing boundaries is not an act of rejection. It is an act of self-preservation. It is a testament to emotional maturity. It is the empowering ability to say, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I know what I will no longer tolerate. Those who cultivate this skill forge relationships that are healthier, more balanced, and rooted in mutual respect. They no longer live in the crippling fear of losing others, because they have learned how not to lose themselves. For therein lies the true danger. It is not the loss of someone else. It is the loss of you. It is diluting your essence in relationships that fail to honor you. It is bending and shape-shifting to the point where you forget who you truly are. It is pouring out so much of yourself that you are left running on empty. A moment of absolute honesty. So today, I urge you to have a moment of absolute honesty with yourself. Take a hard look at the people who have access to your inner sanctuary. Those you confide in. Those who hold sway over your emotions, your choices, and your peace of mind. And ask yourself this in all sincerity. Do these individuals truly deserve that seat at the table? Or are you handing over your heart out of mere habit? Out of the dread of isolation? Out of a desperate need to be loved? Or simply because you struggle to say no? Because when all is said and done, the quality of your life is inextricably linked to the caliber of the people you allow into your heart. You must not hand your heart to just anyone. You must entrust it with wisdom. You must protect it with intention. You must preserve it with discernment. And above all else, you must only entrust it to those who know how to cherish it. Because your heart was never meant to be put on display. It was meant to be honored.